Why 1970s living rooms were so iconic. Step into a 1970s living room, and it's like walking into a time capsule of comfort, creativity, and bold expression. Everything, from the swirling wallpaper to the shag carpets underfoot, told a story about people who weren't afraid to live vividly. The 1970s home was more than stylish. It was soulful. It captured the optimism, rebellion, and warmth of a changing world. Here's why 1970s living rooms were so iconic. A vibrant look back at the decade that taught us what home could truly mean. The bold beauty of color and pattern. If the 1960s flirted with color, the 1970s married it with passion. The living room became a fearless playground of design. Walls wore enormous floral or geometric prints, usually in shades of avocado green, burnt orange, ochre, and chocolate brown. Tones that wrapped a room in warmth and nostalgia. Homeowners took pride in their choices. You didn't copy your neighbor, you expressed yourself. A single accent wall might burst with orange daisies, while the curtains shimmered in gold. Even the sofa joined the fun, upholstered in plush velour or patterned fabric. These palettes reflected a cultural mood, one that craved optimism after years of social and political change. Interior magazines of the time praised earth tones and natural living. The world outside might have been uncertain, but the 1970s living room offered comfort through color. Today, interior designers looking for vintage interior style often revisit these same hues. Retro isn't just about nostalgia. It's about rediscovering the joy of personality, a splash of orange, a patterned cushion, a floral print. Echoes of the decade that taught us to decorate without fear. A room built around togetherness. Unlike the formal parlors of earlier generations, 1970s living rooms were built for real life. This was where families gathered, friends dropped by unannounced, and the TV set held court in the corner. It was the social heartbeat of the home. Television had become the great unifier. Shows like The Brady Bunch, Happy Days, and The Generation Game turned evenings into shared experiences. Parents and children sat side by side on wide corduroy sofas, bowls of popcorn between them, while flickering light painted the walls. The furniture was deliberately arranged for connection. Nothing too stiff or symmetrical. Coffee tables became altars for daily life. Coasters, ashtrays, magazines, maybe a fondue set if you were trendy. The sound of conversation mingled with laughter and the soft clink of cups. This was the decade that gave us the true family room. The essence of 1970s living room design wasn't found in the furniture. It was in the feeling. It was about being together in an imperfect, cozy space filled with love and sound. The decor might have been bold, but its heart was gentle. Furniture with soul and substance. When it came to furniture, the 1970s found the sweet spot between style and sturdiness. Gone were the delicate, fussy designs of the mid-century era, replaced by pieces that had presence. Chunky pine tables, teak sideboards, and low-slung modular sofas became household staples. British brands like G-Plan and Ercole, and Scandinavian influences from Denmark and Sweden defined the look. Clean lines, warm finishes, and a focus on natural materials. These items were built to last, and many still do. Proof of their timeless appeal. A 1970s sideboard was more than a piece of storage. It was a stage for family photographs, souvenir figurines, and that brand-new stereo system. Meanwhile, nesting tables, a design classic, gave flexibility to smaller homes. The rise of habitat stores brought affordable modernism to ordinary households, making design accessible to everyone. Collectors today prize these pieces as part of retro home decor. They carry stories of birthdays, Christmas gatherings, and lazy Sunday afternoons. Each scuff and scratch is a small piece of living history, reminding us why 1970s furniture wasn't just functional, it had soul. The textures that defined a decade. To understand why 1970s living rooms were so iconic, you have to touch them. The decade was all about texture. Lush, tactile, and irresistible. Shag carpets dominated the floors, sometimes in cream or mustard, other times in deep green or rust. Your toes practically disappeared into them. Walls were covered with wooden paneling or rough brickwork, lending a natural cabin-like charm. Curtains were heavy and rich, usually in velvet or brocade. Every surface told a story. Crocheted throws lay over the sofa, while embroidered cushions added handmade charm. Macrame wall hangings, those knotted works of art, gave living rooms a creative bohemian flair. Even plastic and vinyl had their place, especially in brightly colored stools or lamp bases. This layering of textures created an environment that felt personal and alive. It wasn't about matching, it was about mixing. Families combined the rustic and the futuristic, the natural and the man-made. It was organized chaos, but it worked. Modern designers still borrow from that eclectic confidence. They call it maximalism now, but really, it's a tribute to the vintage home decor of the 1970s, a world where comfort was king and rules were optional. Lighting that set the mood. Lighting in the 1970s wasn't merely practical, it was atmospheric art. From the iconic lava lamp to globe pendants and stained glass shades, every light source added character. The lava lamp, a symbol of the decade, wasn't just for teenagers' bedrooms. It found its way into family living rooms, casting hypnotic red and gold bubbles across the walls. The mood it created was unmistakable, dreamy, warm, a little mysterious. Pendant lights with smoked acrylic or amber glass became the centerpiece of the ceiling, while tripod floor lamps stood proudly by the sofa, offering a soft pool of light for reading or conversation. People were experimenting with illumination, discovering that lighting could set emotion as much as visibility. Even daylight was considered a design element. Large windows, framed with thick curtains, gave living rooms a cinematic quality. The outside world became part of the scene. In the evenings, light dimmed to amber tones, echoing the glow of sunset. If you walk into a retro-themed cafe or vintage bar today, chances are you'll see that same golden hue. It's a visual shorthand for warmth, a little nod to the retro home style that taught the world how to create atmosphere. Music, media, and the soul of the room. Music defined the mood of the 1970s living room. Before digital playlists and Bluetooth speakers, there was ritual. The vinyl record was king, and the record player was often the pride of the house, nestled on a teak shelf, flanked by two towering speakers. Putting on a record wasn't casual, it was an experience. You'd choose the album, gently slide the vinyl from its sleeve, place it on the turntable, and lower the needle. Then came that familiar crackle, the warm prelude to magic. The sound filled the room, wrapping everyone in melody. Bands like Fleetwood Mac, ABBA, the Rolling Stones, and Queen weren't just heard, they were felt. Music became the heartbeat of the home. Teenagers sprawled on shag rugs, parents hummed from the sofa, and guests tapped their feet over cocktails. The rise of hi-fi systems, complete with wooden cabinets and glass lids, made the living room both a concert hall and a status symbol. Radios, cassette decks, and even early color televisions all blended into the decor. Not gadgets, but companions. This connection between sound and space made 1970s living room design unique. It wasn't just about how it looked, it was about how it sounded, how it moved, how it made people feel. Nature indoors and the art of cozy chaos. In the 1970s, nature came inside to stay. The urban world was growing fast, but people longed for green, and they found it in their living rooms. Houseplants became decor essentials. Spider plants dangled from macrame hangers. Peace lilies sat proudly in ceramic pots, and ferns unfurled by the fireplace. This wasn't just a style trend. It was an emotional one. People wanted balance, a sense of calm amid modern life. Alongside the plants came natural textures, rattan chairs, bamboo blinds, woven rugs, and wooden bowls. The result was a perfect harmony of color and life, chaos and comfort. A 1970s living room didn't strive for minimalism. It celebrated cozy clutter. Books, records, candles, and knickknacks filled every corner. Every object carried a story, a souvenir from a trip, a handmade craft from a friend, a gift from a birthday long past. This layered, lived-in look gave homes real personality. It's why today's retro home decor trend still borrows so heavily from the 1970s. Designers now call it boho chic or eclectic vintage, but it's the same spirit, a love for authenticity, imperfection, and comfort. The spirit of togetherness and timeless comfort. Ultimately, why 1970s living rooms were so iconic comes down to more than design. It's about what they represented, a time when people truly lived in their homes. The world outside might have been uncertain, political unrest, rising costs, global change, but the living room was a refuge. Here, laughter echoed off patterned wallpaper. Children lay on shag carpets, playing with their toys, while their parents read magazines or listened to records. The room was a safe haven, wrapped in soft fabrics and warm light. There was something profoundly human about it all. The imperfections, the slightly mismatched furniture, the fading cushions, the dust in the lava lamp, made it real. It wasn't curated for aesthetics. It was lived in. And perhaps that's the greatest legacy of 1970s home life. It taught future generations that comfort doesn't come from perfection, but from warmth. The decade's design, the colors, textures, and shapes all worked together to create spaces that invited connection. Every time a designer today revives 1970s living room design, they're tapping into that feeling, the art of living fully, warmly, and together. That's the timeless comfort of a decade that understood the meaning of home. The 1970s living room was bold, joyful, and unapologetically human. It celebrated family, creativity, and the freedom to live colorfully. Its textures, sounds, and soul still echo through modern interiors. More than decor, it was a feeling, one that proves real comfort never goes out of style. Thank you for watching this video. Please don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell.